Hey everybody, here we go. How you doing today? Happy holidays for the people in the States, and just happy wonderful weekend to everyone else. Still setting things up as we go. And we've got Brennan here is hanging out with us today for a little while.
Hey,
And
everybody.
and then we've sent a lot of links out. So if anybody wants to join us, check your Facebook Messenger chat. I've sent out a bunch of links to a lot of the people who regularly join us for Guitar Talk, and we'd love to see if we could do a full Brady Bunch, uh, uh, or maybe Hollywood Squares, like they were saying yesterday there. So we've got Chris and Evan, and Brennan's in both places at once. He's in the chat and on the feed there too. So
I'm multitasking.
multitasking. And Dean's there here too. Hey man, how you doing? Hope everything's good. Um, so we thought we'd just do a little hanging out today. We're going to talk a little gear. We're in the beginning stages of our gear challenge, getting everyone's clean, crunch, and lead sounds together. But I thought we'd kind of introduce Brennan's a little bit, and we'd ask him about his gear. And I know he's been playing out a little bit, even in the middle of all this going on. So find out what gear he's been using for that too. So hi Brennan, how you doing today?
I'm doing greatly. Thanks for having me.
Good. So you're a founding member. So I've been wonderful getting to know you through your videos and everything like that. But tell us a little bit about yourself and about your guitar playing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm based in the Northwest, probably about 20, 30 minutes east of Seattle. I have been playing on and off guitar for, I don't know, since I was probably a teenager. So it's been, 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, probably probably a little bit longer than that. Um, I would have kind of a cycle I would go through. I would get really intensely into guitar, practice a lot, learn a lot, and then I either get frustrated or I'd let sort of life happen, and then just not pick up a guitar for a long time. And going back maybe about a year ago, April, a friend of mine approached me and said, "Hey, we've got this chance to play at a fundraiser." She was already in a band, and they needed another guitarist. And I was like, "Well, I haven't played guitar in probably 3, 4 years, but I would love to try it out." And I wasn't sure. I mean, they were talking to a bunch of people, so I wasn't sure if I was going to actually
Mm-hmm.
get it involved in the band. And then I got the call. They're like, "Yep, you're in." And so I quickly scoured the internet for resources. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need something to help me, like immediately." And that's when I found your blog, Lee, or
Awesome.
your podcast.
Okay.
And I thought, well, this is an awesome opportunity to learn about this. And I started, from the beginning of the podcast series forward, and I got really hooked. And then we had the chance to play at a couple events last year, what I really learned was that I had some huge gaps in my playing. I mean, I knew some common chords, basic chords I could play that way, but my lead playing, I hadn't really done a whole lot in terms of lead playing. And then just in terms of the chords, I really wanted to better understand how chords are constructed, and really just kind of relearn guitar in a way that was sustainable, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And
That's
so I've loved it. It's been a fantastic year for doing that.
that makes me feel great. That had a little bit to do with you getting out there and playing. That's good. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yes, those kind of opportunities, you get the phone call,
Hmm.
and it's just like your whole life just like changes like that. You're like, yeah,
Totally.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
What do I got to do?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I got to play now. What am I gonna? I got to set
I know.
everything up.
Hmm.
Um, and what are they gonna expect from me, and all that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And so what was the when you first started playing with them? what gear did you use, and has it changed since you first started?
Yeah. So I started with them with a little practice amp. Like I have a Marshall practice amp from 20 years ago. Solid state. I think it's an 8-inch speaker, but it's not loud enough to play above a drummer at all.
Right.
And it's perfect for bedroom, but not great for anything above that.
Right.
And before our first, well, actually, I borrowed an amp for the first gig, and then for the next time we played out, that's when I figured, well, I need something bigger. I really wanted a tube amp, and then I found out Fender has the Super Champ
Mm-hmm.
X2, which is actually a hybrid amp, so it's
Right.
tube and with some modeling, but it's 15 watt, and it's definitely loud enough. And so that's kind of what I use primarily, and it's light enough that I'm not worrying about, carting around something really super heavy.
That's a neat
Um,
amp too. I've
it's fun. It's really fun.
yeah, I was looking for something like that. A 15. People don't realize how loud 15 watts really are.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
even even a champ like a 5 watt champ cranked all the way up is not a it's not a quiet amplifier. It doesn't have a huge sound like
Right.
a regular champ with like was it like an 8-inch 5/8 6-inch 8-inch speaker, but so it doesn't have it's not full sounding, but it's loud. You can hear. I've
Hmm.
played with it. We used to play in Macon at a place called the Rookery, and I did one whole gig, just one, with the champ, right? But Super Champ's got a 12-inch speaker, correct?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's 15 watts. That's a
Yeah,
neat
and
amp.
it's tube. Like I don't know. Tube wattage sounds louder to me than solid state wattage. I don't know if
Hmm.
there's really anything to that, but like 15 watts in a tube amp, it seems much louder than like a 15 watt solid state
Yeah,
is. Like I barely crank it above 3 in my house, which I mean that's its own challenge, right? Because like the tones I want to try and get at a lower volume in my house don't match the
right.
tones I would try and get if I was actually playing out and cranking it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of that has to do with the low end. Um, so when you're playing quiet in your house, you're not pushing the speaker,
Hmm.
and so the speaker is the the fly in the ointment with this. So if you're not pushing the speaker enough, you're you're not getting a lot of the low end. So you tend to go and turn the bass up. And then the
Hmm.
minute you get on stage, nothing works. It doesn't.
Right.
Your pedals
Right.
don't sound the same.
Yeah.
Nothing sounds the same. So when then so you get on stage and everything sounds muddy, right? And then you roll your bass back, and then your pedals still don't work.
Hmm. Hmm.
That they were all your settings were what you heard it's just it's a mess. It's a mess. And so you start to get to realize what I started doing is at home is would always go light on bass. So I'd always try to, and like people like Jeff Beck, if they say with his, when he uses the 50 watt Marshalls, he rolls the bass all the way off.
Oh wow.
I don't know how that works out. Because that never sounded good to me all the way off, but I try to be very light with bass when I'm practicing at home. That way, how I have everything set when we get to playing, it's not that big of a difference. Also, speakers, how they react when they're being
Hmm.
pushed harder is a whole different EQ curve than when they're barely being pushed. So yeah.
It's a really, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, when my family's out of the house, then I'll kind of crank it. I'm always trying to like, get them to go do an activity so I can really turn it up.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't there something that you got to do? but yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, let's check the chat real quick before we move on to some clean tones, crunch tones, and lead tones. So Evans says he's not going to be part of the stream today, but plans to. And then let's see, Chris is here. Long week at work, but off for the weekend. Guitar keeps me happy. And Kevin is tuning in from the pontoon boat on vacation. And I hope Kevin's having a great vacation. And Chris, progress I'm seeing my playing. And let me fix this so we can read everything on screen here. Is amazing. And everyone else is playing is amazing. And my knowledge and understanding has massively improved. Awesome. That is great news. Evan says it's the knowledge part that gets me excited. Bob's here. Hey, Bob. Bob has a Katana 50, but can use it at 15 and 25 watts, and the 15 can get loud. Yeah, it sure can.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely play a gig and keep up with the drum, depending on the drummer. That's that. I play with some drummers that a 15 watt amp is not gonna. I can still hear them in this ear. One of them in particular, but at 15 watts, you can really get the amp competitive. I know what was that? The Blues Junior. I had a Blues Junior once, and that was 2 EL84s, which should be about 15 watts. And it worked. I could do a whole gig with 2 of them would have been cool. That would have been pretty nice. So Bob's in Canton, Georgia. Good to see you, man. Happy 4th to you too. Used to live on the West Bank back in the 80s. All right, let me see if I can get any. Oh, David's here too. I'm gonna move this down a little bit so we get all the chat in here. Good to see you, David. I'm glad to have you guys in the chat. Everybody check. We're going to talk. Brandon and I, we're going to talk for, 5-10 minutes more, and then we're going to see how many people we can pile in on on the Guitar Talk today. Just for fun. Just for fun. So with the Super Champ, right? How do you have that set up? Do you have that set up clean with pedals in front of it? Or are you using some of the different?
Yeah. So there's 2 channels on it. So there's a clean channel, and then there is the sort of the modeling channel. Both channels, there's some onboard effects with the amp too. So we've got a reverb, tremolo, some gain for distortion. And at first I played around with quite a bit of that, trying to dial in sounds. And then I realized, that I think I like the clean channel better in putting pedals in front of it.
Yeah.
And so I've been mainly using a DS1.
Okay.
So I've got let's see here, my Boss, my distortion pedal.
Right.
Common pedal. And
the orange pedal that's not orange anymore. Right.
yeah. I think they did this anniversary edition not too long ago.
Cool.
And at first I tend to do a bunch of research before I buy something.
Right.
And I really wanted a DS1 that I could potentially mod if I didn't like the sound. And they changed their chips over to how they're building them now. So like the anniversary edition was sort of the last of the older style, how they're building them. I haven't modded it though. Like I got it with the possible intention to mod, and then I decided, I just kind of like the sound the way it is.
Yeah, I've got a not one of the good ones. Just a I don't know when I bought it. It's the early 2000s probably. And I thought the same thing. And I was really into modding pedals at the time, and I never did. And one of the things that people don't realize about the DS1, the DS1's famous for the Steve Vai and Joe Satriani type sounds, and those are in front of a Marshall amp, and you get it right away. You hear those, and with the DS1 you have to keep the tone pretty low. It can bite your head off after a while. But that pedal saved my tail at a blues session. So that the DS1 into a clean Fender amp, which is what your clean channel is, does the best Clapton, like that rolled off warm distorted, sustainy type sound in front of a clean. It's amazing, and you don't really hear people talk. I've heard one or two people have talked about that before, but it's got a really good lead tone in front of a clean amp. But you got to go for that. You got to be able to not be afraid to roll some tone off on your pickups, just like you would for a Clapton type sound. So, what kind of tone have you gotten out of it?
Like you're describing, kind of Eric Clapton-y sound. Also, like one of the we do some David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the distortion in 70s David Bowie songs,
Mm-hmm.
it works pretty well. But I think you're right. Like I didn't realize like the sounds would vary so much, but depending on the amp that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And I think if I were to do this again, I would haul my amp in to wherever I'm buying a pedal and try it out.
Yeah.
If they don't have an amp that's similar or the same, just because it's you will get different sounds.
Yeah.
You may not like the sounds that you get.
Yeah, it's in the reverse of that too. So if you're buying an amp, bring your pedals with you. You know?
Right.
Yeah. And what are they gonna say? No. No. You know, okay, I'll go somewhere else. You know, but the what you could do with that. So you have the foot switch for the Super Champ.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. What would be neat is to have that DS1 set up on your clean channel as a Clapton type lead, right? That on and off for there. But then also, if you could set on the modeling like a crunch type sound, you know, like a just where on your bridge pickup you're getting that kind of classic rock type sound, and then put the same settings of a DS1 on top of that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Right. So you'll have so you'd have your clean and a lead on top of the clean. Then you'd have your crunch and then a full out lead, which most likely you wouldn't even have to change on the DS1. So having that channel switching pedal and your DS1 right next to each other, you get a good mix of tones. I've never done it, so I don't know how it would really work, but
yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I know on the modeling side there's like a Marshall type of amp setting. So I could probably use something like that, or they have there's other sort of Fender types of amp models in there as well.
Yeah, I'd go for the kind of the older Marshall, you know, not the high gain Marshall stuff like the Plexi type sounds, and just where it's just barely breaking up, and then let the pedal do the work on that. That would be pretty neat.
That'd be cool.
I'd be curious to hear that. I'm gonna go buy me a Super Champ and try it and find my DS1. Oh man, I miss all my pedals. I miss my cardboard box full of pedals. Let's go back. There's some chat came in here. Let's see here. A la JJ Kale. Bob says my favorite clean tone. And Kevin says, I just remembered I have a DS1 torn apart that I was going to mod. Yeah, and they have all some of the DS1 mods. There was the Analog Man mod. There's he had what was the Steve I one, the Seeing Eye mod, I think it was.
Like the Keeley mod?
Yeah, Keeley mods, and there's a bunch of different cool mods for them, and they don't look really difficult, if you're into that kind of stuff. I used to really have a lot of time to do stuff like that. I don't need time anymore. I just want to buy it and it works, and so I can move on, But the what was that Ibanez dual pedal that Steve I was doing that had like a Tube Screamer on one side and a DS1 on the other, but it wasn't really a DS1. It was Ibanez, but that was the idea. That was both of his. Have you tried putting anything before the DS1 yet?
I haven't. No, I've been really tempted though about getting a Tube Screamer, and because or like a Boss Blues Driver kind of pedal. but something that's like when I bought the distortion pedal, I didn't really know what I was kind of going for. I just
Right.
thought, oh, distortion, that's what I want. I want something to drive the amp.
Right.
But I didn't really understand kind of the differences between something like a tube screamer and a distortion pedal.
Yeah. So let's take those three pedals. So you're talking about the Blues Driver, and then the DS1, and then the Tube Screamer. And really, the best way to think about them is the EQ that you get from them. So a uh, a Blues Driver is kind of scooped like a Fender type amp, especially the Keeley Blues Driver. That's the one I have. It's got kind of it sounds like a Fender amp kind of breakup to it. It's got a scoop to it. The DS1 is flat. It gives a nice flat, even kind of sound. And a Tube Screamer has a mid hump. So its EQ curve is kind of like this. So you've got the Blues Driver, you've got the DS1, and then you've got the Tube Screamer. And if you've got the reason why Tube Screamers and Fender amps sound so good together is because a Fender amp doesn't have a lot of mids. It's scooped. It gives it that almost acoustic type sound that everyone was looking for in the 1950s, right? And what ends up happening is when you put a Tube Screamer there, it widens out the sound. It makes it a thicker kind of a sound. So and it's the same reason why James Hetfield would use that on his, I don't even know what, Mesa, probably whatever amp he was using. Those metal type sounds scoop a ton of mids out. The EQ curve is like a V, right? And so when he would really push it, he pushed it with the Tube Screamer, and it solid made the tone solid a little bit. So so the way that a DS1's going to sound with your amp is going to be completely different than the way that a Tube Screamer would. But a lot of people, they might put the Tube Screamer before the DS1 and stack both of those pedals.
Okay.
You know, so that they might have the DS1 in front of the Fender amp, and it sounds just like just a regular rhythm distorted sound, and then put the Tube Screamer in front of it to push it a little bit, to give it some more mids, so it features it a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's not a combo that you hear a whole lot. The DS1 going into a Fender, and like you said, you just wanted to get something that said distortion on it, right? But I think it's a neat sound, and it's a sound I've used before, and it's helped me out. There was a recording session that we did, and I couldn't get the right tone, and finally I said, well, I've got this $30 DS1. Nothing else is working. Let's try it. And boom, it worked, you know? So yeah. It's a neat one.
Well, and that's the thing too, is DS1s, like you can find them used for pretty cheap.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to buy new.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people kind of give them a bad rap, but I think it's all in how you dial in the settings too.
Yeah.
Like there's some pretty good usable tones, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad pedal at all. Let's check the chat out here. Kevin says, I just remember. Oh, we talked about that one. David says he's floating in and out. Forgot I had a family event today. No problem. And Evan's supposed to be cleaning the patio. Halfway done, but stopped for lunch and the live stream. Awesome. I'm going to go check over on Zoom, see if anybody's. No one's taken us up on it yet. So it may just be me and you.
Not a problem.
But if any of you want to head over to Zoom, I'll periodically check, and we'll see if we can get some more folks in here. If not, Brennan and I are fine.
Totally.
We'll be just fine. So when you're playing with the band, and so that amp is pretty low to the floor.
Right. Yeah. So we try and I definitely get it up. Like I've just been putting it on a stool, but you know, it doesn't have any legs to angle back.
Right.
So it's either using a stand or getting up high, but making sure you can hear it in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that was like a big sort of learning lesson for a lot of us. I mean, the band is we're mainly friends. All our kids go to the same school, and that's kind of how we met. The bassist is a professional drummer, So he has a lot of experience with audio engineering also,
Right.
and we've been he's taught us a lot about you know getting the mix right, and what it sounds like, and then also just listening to each other. That's such a big piece of playing with others, you know, is not just how do I sound, but how do I sound with everybody else,
Right.
and are we playing cohesively, like as a unit, you
Hmm.
know? Um, so it's been really fun, you know. Like I joined thinking, well, this is mainly going to be learning about guitar and practicing songs, and it's been a lot more learning about just playing with other people and music and sound engineering in general.
Yeah, I would rarely, if you took a picture of the settings on my amps and my pedals at the beginning of a night of music, it rarely ever by the end of the night of music is it the same. It just does. You could think it all you want. And you could even use the same stuff that you play all the time, and you could set it up where you think that, oh, this is going to sound good. And as soon as you're in a different room, and all of a sudden your tone may not be sitting well with everything, with the bass, with the with even with the drums, and um, so listening and being a part of a, like I said before, like bass is a big problem with guitar players because you want to have that thought of this huge sound. But if you're playing in a group, your huge sound is going to fight other instruments, especially the bass, because the bass guitar and regular guitar overlap each other, and it can get very muddy, and you can lose both of them. It sounds like mud, and that's great for the drums and the vocals because that's all anybody will hear, you know. But uh,
It,
so
it, it,
I'm sorry. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that was another thing, kind of learning as I went was like if we have two guitars and we're playing similar parts, how do we complement each other versus just kind of playing the same chords in the same way, doubling up on notes and creating that muddy sound like you're saying. So that's been really interesting and kind of really wanted me to learn different variations of chords,
Hmm.
and how chords are built up
Yeah.
so that we could play in a complementary manner. Yeah.
There's a couple of ways to think about it. Um, one of the for heavy music now, one of the big things is two guitar players or two parts split, panned hard left and hard right, and they're both playing the exact same thing. And what happens is if you do it in two different takes, you're not, so one might just barely be coming in before, or actually sometimes they'll detune one a little bit to get that really heavy sound. Um, but sometimes, and this has been my experience, that's only good for like one little section of a song, and it starts to sound small after a while. And where you would think it would be adding extra weight to it, it narrows it, which may be right for a certain song, but for most things, voicing your parts separately. I always think of Aerosmith. If
Hmm.
you ever watch Aerosmith play live, it's like the two guitar players are playing two totally different songs. They're not even playing the same rhythms. They're playing two totally different parts. And people when you talk about Aerosmith in the 70s, people would talk about how they were drinking all the time and all that kind of stuff. But there was some really, really interesting guitar work that I was just listening some the other day. That's why I have them on the brain. Really, really interesting, different, very odd choices, you know. um, it- but the parts fit together like this. No one
Hmm.
was doing the same thing. The tones, I think the first place to start is the tone. Making sure that your sound is nothing like the other guitar player's sound. You know, and it could be, you could both be playing the same amp if you one's playing a humbucker guitar and one's playing I always played Strat, and then when I played with E.G. Kite, the lady that I was playing with, she played a Strat. So as we kept playing, I was like, man, I'm really feeling something different. So I picked up a Les Paul, and there it was, and I had my place in the band at that point. And we were playing basically the same amplifier. It was just a Fender amps, So having a little bit different equipment that gives a little bit different sound to put you in one space, but just voicing the chords. If the other guitar player's playing a lot of open strings and those things, to playing, if you were to play higher on the top four frets, when you have two guitar players, it's not as important to play these big 6-string chords anymore. You can play 2 notes. Because if the other guitar player's covering that, it's not needed, and playing high little fills and things like that. Also thinking about the rhythm. So if you've got one person who's covering the rhythm, is playing the chunky part of the chords, to kind of fill in between, or to do some, and it doesn't have to be lead, it can be chord work. Just do some chord work in between the vocals, to fill up space and then drop out again. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and you can get creative with that too, But the first place I would think is to make sure you're not, and usually it's not. Usually everybody has different gear, but just to make sure that your tones are pretty different, so that you don't have to be loud to stand out. It's just the way that you when you have something that sounds a little bit different, you could be the same volume, and then it fills the sound out a little bit more. But yeah, that would, you play a C, someone's playing, with acoustic guitar too. A lot of these bands that have an acoustic guitar player and then an electric guitar player, or 2 electric, acoustic guitar and electric guitar, because of acoustic guitars, it has a scooped kind of sound to it. It doesn't have tons of mids, or most don't, so just in that, where one person's playing acoustic and one person's playing electric, that you could both play the same chord in that instance, and it doesn't sound muddy, because the guitars are so different. I'm gonna check the chat right here. Okay, they're talking about you, saying nice things.
I like the sound of acoustic and electric together. I really do.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. I like layered acoustic sounds too. The Nashville tuning. Have you ever seen that? It's
I don't think so.
It's tuned up kind of. It's a way to, if you don't have a 12 string, to get that kind of a sound.
That's cool.
There's a lot of different layering of acoustic tones. That's pretty neat too. There's a guy in town here that I'm very good friends with, who's he does kind of a James Taylor solo act, but he's got some really, really nice acoustic layering, different guitars for that too. I'm hoping to bring him on here one day.
That'd be cool. I keep going back and forth on, do I need a 12 string? Do I want a 12 string? Yes, I want one, but do I need one? I don't know. Maybe I can justify it at some point.
Yeah, 12 strings are fun.
They are.
Yeah, and I don't know. It depends on your style. You could be the 12 string guy. That could be your thing. I had one. I ended up gosh, I had it up for sale at a music store, and then they closed. So I think,
oh no.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it, but I wasn't in town, so it's my fault. I should have got it out of consignment before I left. So I don't know, but it was fun. It was fun to do, but I'd never used it, so that's why. But if you would use it, yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, that's the question. Is would I use it enough to, to really enjoy it?
Do you play acoustic with this band?
We do a couple songs where I play some acoustic. Yeah. but most of the time it's electric, and then I play on my Strat for
Okay.
that. There's one song I should probably switch over to using my Telecaster, but for the most part I play Strat.
What how do you get amplified for your acoustic? Are you plugging in or
Yeah, it's a acoustic with like a Fishman pickup in it, so with just plugs right into the amp. Yeah.
okay, great. So you're going into your Fender or you're going into
Hmm.
the PAs? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I know the PAs could probably. I mean, it'd probably sound different just straight through the PA,
yeah, if
maybe.
did you say that is you say your bass player is a drummer, but he's also a PA guy, right?
Yeah, he has all the equipment. So the there's let's see, I'm trying to think what's going through the PA. So um the vocals are going through the PA, and he might have a keyboard going through PA also.
Okay. I would try to get your guitar, your acoustic in there and is he running monitors for you?
Yeah, yeah. And then
Okay.
we have.
I would
Mhm.
get that acoustic in the monitors if you could. I
Okay.
think you probably would like it. You might have the problem with that is feedback. You know, you always hear that when they turn the acoustic on, ooh, you know, and they sell those little uh, rubber feedback busters that you put on the sound hole. But I think I don't know, but I think next time you guys get together, whenever there's not a pandemic or
Right.
a global um, reason we can't play guitar, so, ask him to try that out, and I think you'll like it. It's fun. It's fun to you get that big huge thunk low end, when you're playing there. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
okay, so Bob is new here. We want to welcome Bob, and thanks for hanging out with us. And this is here's what's going on. So my name's Lee, and I have a podcast called the Play Guitar Podcast, and it's been going for about 2 years now. And we have a small community of really interested guitar players in our Facebook group that have come. Some have come from the podcast, some have found us through other ways. And what we've been doing since the pandemic happened, that COVID thing happened, is we've been getting together Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays, and have different topics. For on Monday, I do the podcast live on Monday. On Fridays, we do some new guitar news. We get together and talk like this on Saturdays. Sundays, we just kind of hang out. That kind of changes whatever. It's kind of a free for all. But we're happy to have you, Bob. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Okay, so what's your plans in the future for playing?
Well, I think like you're saying, things are a little bit on hold with the pandemic. We're trying to figure out how can we practice in a way that's we're remote, but still able to get kind of that sense of practice. That's the thing I miss most is being around other musicians, and playing and being able to just create something.
Yeah.
Um, it's fun. I love doing it by myself. I really do too. I can be I have periods where I just need my alone time and be solitary, but then there are times where I really just like being around people and playing music.
Yeah.
So for now we're gonna see what we can do that's kind of remote. Our state is still in early stages of kind of opening up, so we're not really sure what that means. We
Yeah.
might be able to do something outdoors, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that'd be kind of interesting. We're all outdoors 6 feet apart,
Yeah.
at least. Really crank the amps, maybe. I don't know.
We've seen the driveway gigs.
Yeah,
Seen a bunch of those online. Um,
yeah.
I've seen a few videos of people who are jamming live.
Hmm.
I don't know what service they use for that. Um, I know that, oh, what was it? Journey. What was it, about a month ago? They were on one of the morning talk shows, and they played live, and everyone was, I think, somewhere in different countries. They were, and so that someone's figured it out as to how expensive it is to do that, or I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it, but going through your regular Zoom or Skype, that never works. It's
It's
the
tough.
the
Yeah.
timing's bad. Teaching on Skype was interesting when you try to play along. You know, it can be done on my end. If you have to know what the delay is, and if the other person on the other side's playing along to you, you have to ignore what it sounds like to you because it sounds great to them. So it's one of those things. But yeah, so this is awesome, man. I'm so happy that you got pressured into doing this and volunteered.
Me too. Me
But
too.
it's good to
Yeah.
talk to you, man. It's good to talk because
Yeah.
we kind of talk back and forth with our
Right.
videos, so it's very comfortable. But it's nice to have a one-on-one talk.
Yeah. Real
That's
time is great. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. So things are opening up there. That's good.
They, yeah, they are, and we're trying to figure out. My kids are well. I'll have one starting middle school and one that's still in elementary school. So trying to figure out what fall's going to look like,
Yeah,
and we can still go outside and hike. We can do things that are outdoors, which is
right.
great. That's a huge step forward for us.
And you're in the
So we're
right
trying to take
place for
advantage.
that too. That's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't have the
it's nice here.
you don't have the bugs that we have here.
No, no, we have rain instead. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a student who was from Washington and moved here, I think for her husband's job, and she said I had no idea the bugs here. Bugs are brutal here, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been everything's been open here for a while. Now we haven't been going out and doing any. We've been just kind of sitting back and letting everybody go out and see what happens. But my daughter's homeschooled, and my wife and I both work at home, so this is where it hasn't been that big of a change for us. Other than we would go on to we would go out every night to eat. Not every night, but we would go out a lot to eat. That was our getting out of the house, and that was kind of taken away, you know. So, but we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. But the it is it sounds silly, but just people keeping their masks on keeps it down. I saw a picture of a football event in 1918, or some sort of sporting event, and they showed all the people during the 1918 pandemic. They're all sitting there wearing cloth masks there.
Mhm.
So maybe
Yeah.
maybe it helped. I don't know. We'll
It-
see. We'll see. I know I'm the only one that wears a mask out in this apartment complex that we're in right now.
Oh wow.
I don't
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
like it.
We definitely try and mask up, and I respect everyone's choice for around that too. I
Yeah.
do for sure.
Yeah.
But we just want to do whatever we can to make this end quicker.
Yep.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
For me, it has an added benefit is I'm allergic to all of the pretty stuff that they've planted here, so it helps.
Oh yeah.
It kind of helps with that too. So I'm all for it. So let's see your guitars. What guitars that are you playing right now?
Yeah. So I have a Fender Strat, and then I have a Squier Classic Vibe Telecaster,
Very
which I
nice.
really like. I really like that. Um, and then I have a late '70s Epiphone Genesis. So that's my humbucker guitar, and that thing is heavy.
Yes.
Like I think Evan yesterday mentioned, he'd be glad to have a Telecaster in a brawl.
Right.
I would use my Genesis for that. That thing is, yeah,
Right.
very sturdy. But it's also one of the reasons why I don't play it very often. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm standing for any period of time with a heavy guitar, it's it's hard. It's
Yeah. I had a Les Paul that I got rid of. I wish I had never done it at the time, though. It was brutal. 'Cause I was like at the end of the night, I'm playing, trying to stand up straight. Could be the reason why my back hurts so much all the time. But so you've got the classic vibe telly, the Strat, and the Epiphone,
Mhm.
and you don't play the Epiphone too much. Does your Strat have a humbucker in the bridge, or is it a regular single coil? in the
No,
bridge?
it's a regular standard Strat, bought a couple years ago. Yeah, so it's all single coils. I haven't really done any upgrades or mods to it.
It is it ha okay, you haven't done any mods to it. So do you find yourself avoiding the bridge pickup on your Stratocaster?
Yeah, usually I do because it's kind of ice picky. It's like really
Right.
the sound. Like I've been considering actually modding that so I could get some tone control out of that.
Yes,
Um,
that's what I would recommend.
mhm.
And it's one wire. You move you
Oh,
move a wire
that's
to
not
another.
bad.
It's a really easy mod, and what
Yeah.
it does is it takes this tone knob here
Hmm.
and moves it from the middle to the bridge.
That'd be worth it. I mean,
It,
that would be so worth it.
the only thing that you have to worry about is when you use the 4 position where you use both of these pickups here, you have to remember to roll it back up. It will dull that one down too.
Okay.
So where it sounds great on the bridge, when you come come up one where you've got these two in there,
Mhm.
it's still working on that. On my
Got it.
guitar, I bought one of those super switches that's got like 100 poles on it, and you can wire it all sorts of different ways. And I've got it wired where even if I have the bridge pickup rolled down, when I go to the 4, it's wide open, clean, no tone knob on it at all. So I don't have to go back and forth. But even with that, getting use out of your bridge pickup on a Strat when you're using a Fender amp, which will, like you say, it is really brittle, can be, and rolling that down to like 7, even,
Mhm.
not too far, all of a sudden it's like you got a new guitar. There's stuff you can do that you couldn't do before. So I may go through that. I might do a podcast one week, not in the next week or two, but about mo- the the best mods to make, that the easiest ones too. There's some really easy ones. I've done a lot of the different ones. The ones that I've stuck with is for this one for the Strat, getting that bridge pickup in, and then the 50s mods on my humbucker guitars, on my Les Paul, um, for when you roll the volume down on a Les Paul, and it all of a sudden it gets kind of dull sounding. Um, it keeps it nice and high end all the way. A lot of people will do that on a lot of different guitars. They'll add a capacitor and a resistor in series, and put on the volume pot, and that keeps the high end as you roll it down.
Oh,
The problem is you have to get the values just right and it's different you could have two of the exact same guitars, but if the resistance is off a little bit in the pot, it doesn't work the same. You have to kind of do it to each. I bought these little plastic, I think they call them decade boxes, and it's full of capacitors, and then with a dial you can switch which one you want.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I would, and I've got one for resistors too. So I would put them in the circuit of my guitar. I play a little bit and roll down and see what it sounds like. Then I'd adjust, pick a different value until I got it just right for the guitar. So people have a lot of problems with that, but not always. Do you have problems with buzz with your telly and your Strat when you're playing out?
It's not too bad. I mean, most of the time, I'm trying to think like, yeah, there's a little bit of hum, but if find the right position, at least on the Strat, you can kind of cancel it out. And then with the telly, if there's if I'm hearing hum, and I'm not playing, I'll just kind of roll off the volume or take it out.
Right. Right. Awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
is there anything that you want to say to the folks before we hit the road today?
Well, I'm glad everyone's here. I love hanging out with this group. I think this is seriously one of the best groups to be part of. And love reading the posts and just how supportive everyone is. And seeing people post videos of their progress. I mean, it's really inspiring. Like it's helped me get courage to post something of some of my own playing for sure.
And I'm glad you have too. It's when you put stuff on the internet, people say, well, it's going to be there forever. Until you take it off, and then people might watch it for a week. I put a lot of stuff up there, and I can tell you, there's people aren't going searching back through the stuff that I did. Well, on the podcast though, that's different. What you said, you started from the first one and worked through, and that first few episodes, I have a lot. There's been a lot of downloads for those first few episodes. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but hey, this is how we communicate now.
It's all good.
It's good. Well, okay. Well, everybody, how about a big thank you to Brennan in the chat? Before we go, appreciate you hanging out with me, man. And
my pleasure, anytime.
And it was great seeing everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me on a holiday weekend for those in the States. And great to see everyone from overseas on this weekend guitar talk. And I will see you tomorrow at 4 at the same time. And what we're going to talk about, haven't figured that out yet. But I'll let you know. Okay. Well, and thanks for hanging out with us, Bob, too. It was great to have somebody new in the chat, man. And everybody's giving you a good job, smiley faces and all that. So thank you, Brennan. And just hang on just a second. We're going to end the podcast. And thanks, Dean and Chris and Bob and Evan and everyone else that's been here. Let's see here. David, who's been in and out. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.